Welcome to the Black Renaissance, motherfucker.
Welcome to the Smart Black People Podcast, the #1 podcast worldwide for intelligent, ambitious, critical thinking Black people who reject the coonery, buffoonery, and general dumb shit and Black imagery presented in American media. Now here's your host, uncensored and untamed as always, author, investor, rebel entrepreneur, and the bad boy genius himself, Harkon Ajala.
What's up, and Happy New Year! Welcome to 2019, peoples. It's your man, Harkon Ajala, a.k.a. the bad boy genius, the 100% bullshit-free, uncensored, untamed host of the Smart Black People Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us right away, because let me just tell you, you're not going to get information brought to you anywhere else that you're going to get here. It's going to be interesting, entertaining, eye-opening, informative, empowering, financially enriching, challenging, mind-expanding, and sometimes funny as hell to intelligent, ambitious, wealth-building, self-loving, anti-coon, truly woke Black people in America and around the planet. Nowhere else will you get information like the information you're going to get here. Nowhere else will you get true deep game like what's going to be discussed, dissected, decoded, and revealed here. We're going to have some guests that you've never heard of or heard from, some incredible ones. We're going to have some well-known guests and some celebrities who are going to talk about things you've never heard them talk about. We're going to talk about some unbelievable topics in ways that nobody's talking about them. We are completely unique. And if you are a smart Black person, this is the #1 podcast you must listen to every week. And I want you to understand and be very clear that I'm not just doing this just because I want to listen to myself talk. This podcast exists for one reason and one reason only. And that reason is, to paraphrase an astronaut's, Wakanda, we have a problem. We have a fucking big problem. The Black community is in dire straits. It is in serious trouble right now because it's being bombarded, overwhelmed, and it's become consumed by ignorance, coonery, buffoonery, compulsive bullshitting, over-emotionality, rhetoric, ratchetry, and just general dumb fuckery. And the mission of Smart Black People is to remedy this. We are the antidote to the dumb shit that's poisoning the Black community and that Black people have been slowly poisoned with for a long time. From media, religion, the school system, colleges, the government, the entertainment industry, all the institutions of America. Because a fundamental truth of America, whether people want to talk about it or not talk about it, whether people want to admit it or not, whether people want to deny it, is that a white supremacist value system is baked into America at its very core, underneath everything. And it overrides everything except possibly capitalism. Because see, white supremacy isn't what a lot of people think it is. It doesn't work the way a lot of people think that it does. And we're going to talk about that quite often in this podcast. But just understand that the Smart Black People Podcast is going to be the remedy, the sanctuary from the coonish, dumb fuckery epidemic that's running wild and been let loose on the images and messages that are sent to and permeate the Black community. That being said, I have to give you a real warning right here, okay? Because here's the deal. Let me just tell you this, because this is the inaugural broadcast of this podcast, and it's not for everybody. Let me just start off by saying that right now. It's not for everybody, but don't worry. You're going to know very quickly, like within 5 minutes of listening, whether or not this is a podcast for you. So remember, I told you up front, it's not for everybody. It's not for every Black person. But if it is for you, if you're one of the Black people that it's for, you're going to love it. It's going to be your oasis from the ignorant, foolish, dumb shit that insults your intelligence every single day as a smart black person in this society. See, this podcast is for black people who don't say stupid shit like you're talking white when you're speaking with proper grammar. This podcast is for black people who understand Spike Lee movies. This podcast is for black people who read books for knowledge instead of rappers' Instagram posts. This podcast is for black people who want to know why black people are the most devoutly religious people on the planet and yet still in the worst condition. This podcast is for black people who think of Angela Davis when you say black revolutionary, not Tupac. This podcast is for black people who are interested in your evidence and your facts more than your rhetoric and your beliefs. And without a doubt, this podcast is for black people who know that criticizing somebody's ignorant ass, unethical, counterproductive, criminal, or coonish behavior does not make you a fucking hater. And last but not least, this podcast is for black people who understand that external forces can affect us, can create obstacles and even disadvantages, but we have the ultimate and final say and responsibility in our life's outcome. Not white racists, not white supremacy, not white people. So buckle up, because nothing's going to be off limits here. We're going to chop it up like bosses about philosophy, politics, religion, entertainment, current events, you name it. Anything and everything that affects black people, but all through the lens of intelligence, logic, critical thinking, and solution-based discussions. It's chess time here, baby, not checkers. Checkers is for other motherfuckers, not us. What we're about is to be open-minded, logical, intelligent, sophisticated, smart black people who want to see African Americans in America and across the world, Africans across the world, not just survive, but thrive. So anyway, again, welcome to 2019, black people. Thank God 2018 is over. Man, whew. 2018 was a crazy fucking year for black people and otherwise. I mean, my God. It was year 2 of the comedy stylings of the performance artist known as Donald Trump. I'll be honest, man, I am convinced this motherfucker is just playing a big joke on everybody like the Joker in Dark Knight. Seriously, he can't be serious. I mean, everybody in this dude's administration in 2018 either quit, got fired, or is on their way to prison. It's fucking nuts. And I'll be real talk with you. I don't get into being a slave to any of the political parties as a black person, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. All that shit is mainly a game. It really is. But I gotta be honest. I mean, black people who voted for Donald Trump, seriously, I could see not voting at all. But voting for Donald fucking Trump? Baby, what is you doing? Really? I mean, this dude's whole pitch to y'all was like, what do you got to lose? You know, get the fuck out of here. Fuck out of here with that. Seriously? He didn't say, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. It's black people. I got this black agenda. Nope. What do you got to lose? And he was like, oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's go with that. That's better. Shit. Much more comedy to come on the way in 2019, unless he's, unless and until he's impeached or quits or whatever. Anyway, more 2018. We saw proof positive LeBron James is one of the greatest black leaders in NBA history. I mean, the dude is literally, he's moving like a true boss. Dude built a school. He's virtually running every team that he plays for. He's got his man, Rich Paul, owner of Clutch Sports, set up. They're making power moves. Brother was publicly backing Colin Kaepernick and what he was kneeling for. I mean, LeBron was speaking directly to the issues and concerns of black people, man. You got to prop up LeBron. You got to give him his props. Plus, he went out to the Lakers, my second favorite NBA team after the Pacers, so that's sweet. We had a dream come true for me and a lot of other people in 2018. One of the biggest, as a matter of fact, the biggest American movie of the year was titled Black Panther. Had an all-black cast, Africans, dark-skinned, beautiful black men and women, intelligent, dignified, rich, independent. Black Panther's sisters like smarter than Tony Stark and Bruce Banner put together. We had Eric Killmonger, one of the best anti-heroes to come along in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. $700 million. I mean, that shit was fucking dope. That shit was dope. Who would have ever dreamed that shit in America? Then we had Thanos come along and snap his fingers and erase half of the fucking Marvel Universe. Right after we just got T'Challa, man, that was that bullshit. I'm gonna tell you something. I was in a theater when fucking T'Challa turned to dust. A brother stood up in the front of the theater and was like, man, that's some fucking bullshit. Oh. And then Thanos showed up again in the form of Pusha T and murked Drake. Yikes. Man, 2018 was fucking wild, baby. We had Cardi B and Tiffany Haddish like fighting it out for the title of white America's favorite contemporary black female stereotype come to life. And look, I'm not going to just beat up on them. They may be good people at heart. Cardi B seems like she probably is. I'm sure Tiffany Haddish is as well. But Jesus Christ. Have they never seen a minstrel show? I mean, in particular, Tiffany Haddish, I really don't think she's aware of just how fucking cringy her ratchety ghetto black woman act is to watch. And I don't think she's aware that that's really the reason white America loves her. I mean, they don't have any other reason. They haven't seen her do anything else. And Cardi B, I think she's Puerto Rican, man. Y'all, I hope that y'all are embarrassed. The way she acts is just, I mean, come on. I get it. She's charismatic. She's funny, but Jesus, it sets y'all back 100 years. Now, I have seen some growth, it seems like, from Cardi B lately. So, you know, God bless them both. Who knows who they'll grow into as people? I hope so. I hope they do grow. 2018 for black people. So we had Kanye West just fucking spontaneously morph into the Steven character from Django Unchained. And, you know, he's fucking in the White House hugging Donald Trump, telling him you could be my daddy. Yeesh, Jesus Christ, Yeezy. Then I guess he miraculously came to his senses and shut the fuck up when he saw those Yeezys wasn't selling. And in a development that I still can't fucking believe, in 2018, white Republicans and conservatives and Fox News viewers were actually soliciting and listening to political commentary from the minstrel show that is Diamond and Silk. I'm just going to leave that right there. I mean, real talk. Any black woman who publicly says, and anybody taking advice from her should both be stood naked in the town square and have their feet beaten. And in what probably made history in 2018, we watched what I guess is the shortest stratospheric hip-hop career in history, when we watched the rise and fall all in the same year of some little weird, non-skilled, non-rapping ass cornball motherfucker named Tekashi 6ix9ine, who shot to the top of the rap charts and then was on his way to prison for maybe life all in the same year. You just can't make this shit up. And I'll be honest with you. We're going to talk more about Tekashi this year for sure, regardless of what happens with his prison sentence, because just to be honest with you, look, I didn't even know who the dude was. I never liked this shit because, quite frankly, the dude has absolutely zero lyrical skills, period. But I will tell you this. Somebody told me about him, and I went and looked at his video, and I watched 2 or 3 of them. And for the very first time in my life, after I watched them, I literally thought it might be a real thing that somebody is trying to use hip hop music to purposefully and completely destroy the black community. Because the level of cringy depravity that was displayed in those fucking videos, I mean, a bunch of black men yelling and screaming around, waving guns and bragging about committing crimes, somebody's grandma and gang paraphernalia, some little toddler running around in gang paraphernalia. I mean, it was just too fucking much for me. It was just literally a cornucopia of all the worst images and messages aimed at and about black people that I've seen in a long time. And all centered around this little cornball, rainbow-haired Puerto Rican, I guess he is. It was just really pathetic, truly pathetic. And a lot of black people co-signed that bullshit. It is just fucking sad. What is y'all doing? I'm glad his career appears to be over, just like I'm glad 2018 is over. Like I said, it was crazy as fuck. Who would have ever thought we'd be paying attention to and even kind of rooting for Omarosa again? You know what I mean? Fired from the Trump administration, I think she was like one of two black faces in the whole fucking thing, and then writes a book and absolutely eviscerates Trump and everybody in the administration. Just nuts. But sadly, also in 2018, of course, what else is new? More black people shot down and brutalized by the police. And, surprise, more mass shootings and school shootings, etc., from guess who? White males. Can you believe it? Who would have thunk it? They shoot up schools, bars, fucking Vegas, and yet the Muslims are the terrorists. And then at the very end of the year, just to wrap it up all neat and shiny in a fucked up ass bow, Surviving R. Kelly drops and gives us, among other horrific things, this gem of a statement by, I guess, R. Kelly's older brother, who appeared to be in prison even as he was saying it. And I quote, my brother just likes young women, you know what I mean? It's just a preference. Nah, bruh. It's a little bit more than a preference. It's a crime, dude. It's a sickness. It's fucking illegal. And by the way, it wasn't young women. It's like 13, 14-year-old girls. You feel me? We saw the video, dude, just like you did. So it's a little more than a preference, dude. That's what we like to call pedophilia. Or, for the anal motherfuckers out there, heterophilia or whatever you call it. As Peter Griffin would say, yeah, good riddance to 2018. But, I didn't come here to tell you that. I really didn't. I came here to tell you this. As I said, this is the inaugural episode of the Smart Black People Podcast. And it's critically important that I get this crucial idea communicated to you in this episode. You're going to hear me refer back to this over and over and over again, because this is the crux, a foundational principle, a foundational value, a foundational piece of philosophy that African Americans and black people around the world must adopt in order to thrive, in order to prosper, in order to become empowered and live fantastically free, happy lives. It's something we must all adopt and look at the world through this lens. If you've ever seen the movie Poltergeist 2, and there probably aren't that many people who have seen it that remember it. It wasn't that great. Certainly wasn't as good as the original Poltergeist. But there is a Native American character, a shaman in it, named Taylor. And he is the most interesting character in the movie, aside from maybe the crazy-ass old white dude that's like, God is in his holy temple. That motherfucker is, woohoo, that's the weirdest, eeriest motherfucker that's ever been on screen. But anyway, Taylor, he makes a statement in the movie Poltergeist 2 that completely sums up the philosophy that African Americans and black people across the world must adopt if we want to not just survive, but thrive today and going forward into the future. He tells one of the characters, You must be responsible for everything in your world. Let me say that again. You must be responsible for everything in your world. Now, what does he mean by that? What he means is we have to have what is called, when I was studying psychology in college, I never forgot this, it's called an internal locus of control. That means we have to believe and we have to operate as if everything that happens to us is our responsibility. Fair or not, we have to be responsible for overcoming, adapting to, and triumphing over everything in our lives. So as an African American in America, here's the deal. The system is based on white supremacy. There are a lot of systemic things in this society that work against black people. Period. End of story. I don't have to go through everything. You can look all these statistics up for people that want to argue. There's some dumb motherfuckers out there, some white people, and also some stupid house niggas too, who like to say that, you know, there's no racism. Racism doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it doesn't affect black people. It's all in our minds. That's bullshit. Okay. You can go look up Harvard studies by plenty of white people for some black people that don't believe anything unless white people say it. So, okay. There's studies upon studies, and they're coming out every single day that objectively show and prove that there are many things that are stacked against African Americans in this society that are not the fault of African Americans, okay? We all know our history and how we got to this country, or at least I should say we have an idea. Most of us really don't know our history and what has happened to black people because it's not something that's really taught in school, even colleges. Unless you went to a black college, most of the time they skirt over it, but we'll get into all that. The point is this. We know some of the shit that we've suffered, okay? If you are black and you live in America or at this point almost anywhere in the world, there are systemic things in the society that put you at a disadvantage, or I should say that are stacked against you. But that being said, here's another thing you're going to hear me say a lot. It's the smart black people credo. Ain't nobody gonna save us but us. Ain't nobody gonna save us but us. So, as unfair as it may be, even though shit that happens may not be our fault, we have to hold ourselves responsible. We have to act as though everything that happens is our responsibility and it's our fault, because it is our responsibility to overcome and fix. Ain't nobody gonna ride in on a horse and fix it for us. If you're waiting for white people, Democrats, Republicans, the church, whoever, to ride in and fix the issues in the black community for us because it's the right thing to do, it's the moral thing to do, because it's their fault. And you know, let's be honest, there is no arguing. I hear a lot of white people, particularly conservatives, I'm being real about it. When you motherfuckers on Fox TV and, you know, conservative websites and stuff, they love to say, well, the black community, you know, what are you guys doing? You need to do this. The black community, what about black on black crime? You guys are killing each other. You're talking about the police, you're killing each other. They want to cite black poverty statistics, black crime statistics, Well, let me just tell you, all that shit is the fault of America. All that shit happened because white people in America kidnapped our ancestors, brought them over here in chains, and even worse, taught them that they were less than human, that they were inferior, innately inferior to white people. So everything you see in the black community today, all the negativity and dysfunction, it is the result of what happened to African Americans in this country, from slavery through Jim Crow and all the way up. So don't be pointing the fucking finger because it's your fault. Now, that being said, let's stay on what we have to do. Even though it's not initially our fault, it is our fault for continuing it. You with me? We have to approach it that way because it's our responsibility to fix it. Nobody else is going to fix it. So I know you may feel like, oh, you've gone on and on about this, but look, I got to beat this into your head. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there are tons of voices out there. There are a lot of voices out there. Whole lot of pro-black pimps. Whole lot of hotep hustlers. A whole lot of people who are well-meaning but misinformed. Whole lot of voices out there, black and white, that will tell you that it's not your fault and that there's nothing you can do about it. You know, white supremacy's got its foot on all black people's neck all over the world, and it's a big, massive global movement that will never allow black people to succeed, will never allow black people to come up, will never allow black people to rise up to the level of and beyond white people. And in later episodes of this podcast, we're going to dissect and decode and break down why that belief is pushed and promoted. And most of it has to do with making money. You know, my one of my skills is as a marketer. I was an online marketer for 10 years. I'm an expert at it. I understand how you sell people things. Okay, I understand the ideas that you use, the foundational beliefs that you inculcate, or I should say that you place into people's minds and hearts that allow you to sell them things. And I'm telling you, that is one of them. That it's not your fault, that there's nothing you can do about it, and da-da-da-da-da. So follow me, give me money. A great marketer once said, there are two things that people really want. They want to be entertained, and they want to be told that what they believe is right. So trust me when I tell you, it's not by mistake. There are a whole lot of people who want to sell you the idea that white supremacy is this big King Kong. There's nothing you can do about it. So, you know, if you are a deadbeat dad or a crazy ass unfit mother, or you're broke, you're poor, you're not succeeding in your spiritual life, you're not succeeding in your financial life, you're not succeeding in your relationship life, if you're not healthy, that none of it's your fault. It's all white supremacy. It's just all this global, this global cabal of old white men and the Illuminati and all that bullshit that's holding you down. And I'm telling you, not only is that inaccurate, not only is it incorrect, not only is it bullshit, but it is deadly for you to believe that. If you accept that, you are doomed, my friend. And like I said, smart black people, what we're all about is the upliftment of black people all over this planet. We are an amazing people. We have achieved things that no other people have ever achieved. We're going to go through all this stuff in the podcast. A lot of it you've never heard of, and there's a reason for that too, but we'll go into it all. Just understand, I need you to know, if you don't believe it or accept it right now, that's okay. I want you to keep tuning into the podcast because I'm going to prove it to you that you must accept this foundational philosophy. We are responsible for fixing, correcting, and overcoming every obstacle that is placed in our path as African Americans or black people on this planet. Can't blame white people for it. You can blame white people for it if you want to, but it ain't going to help you. You can't wait for anybody to do it for you, fix it for you. It's not going to happen. So blaming and complaining are two of, I had a mentor once that told me the one thing you can't ever do, I won't ever allow you to do, is to blame or complain. That's something I've taught to my children. I'm telling you, you go and you look up and research any people who are successful in almost any way, and you're going to find one of the things they all have in common as a rule, as a habit. They do not blame other people or other things outside of themselves for what happens to them or what they don't have or why they can't succeed, and they don't complain about shit they don't like. Okay? It all goes back, once again, to where your locus of control is psychologically. Black people, we have to adopt an internal locus of control. We have to believe that we determine our life. We determine what we achieve or don't achieve. It's all internal. The opposite of that, obviously, is an external locus of control. And people who have an external locus of control believe that something outside of themselves is responsible for whatever happens in their life. This is one of the reasons why. And I told y'all, some of this shit's going to be controversial. You may not like it. You may not agree right now, and that's fine. But stay with me. You may find you begin seeing my point of view. But let me tell you, this is one of the reasons that black people struggle so much in America and the world. African Americans, black people, we're the most religious motherfucking people on the planet. Definitely in America. We're the most religious people in America. We are the most devout, God-fearing Christians in America. Statistically, you can look it up. And yet, we're still, after 400 years, on the bottom, financially, economically, health-wise. You with me? So let me ask you a question. This is what I'm going to do a whole lot in this podcast. And let me tell you, in life, you have to learn to ask questions. Asking questions is the key to succeeding in life. And the most important, most powerful question you can ask yourself at every turn is only 3 letters long. Why? Why? Ask yourself why. If black people are the most religious, devoutly God-fearing people in America and have been so for 200-300 years, why then are we still on the bottom? Financially, socially, economically, etc., etc. I'm not making this shit up. You may not like hearing it. And I'm telling you, it shouldn't be that way. Not only does it not have to be that way, it shouldn't be that way when you look at our potential. When you look at the potential that black people have as demonstrated by the things that we have achieved under amazingly adversarial and tough as fuck circumstances. And when you take away the adversarial circumstances, oh, we've done things that still blow people's minds. If you don't believe it, go and look at the pyramids, go research the pyramids and try to figure out why people still can't, to this day in 2018, figure out how those fucking people built those pyramids. You got people that are saying, oh, the aliens came down and did it. Because that is what our level of potential and capability is when there are no obstacles put in our way, when we are allowed to soar. There are a million examples of the amazing and startling potential of black people. But here's the deal. You thought I probably just forgot where I was at. No, here's the deal. When you have an external locus of control, when you accept that things outside of yourself determine your life, you are dooming yourself to being at the whim and the mercy of other people. And that's one of the reasons why, as religious as black people are, the most religious people in America, we're still on the bottom in so many ways. Because by definition, what you're learning when you go to those churches, and again, I'm not against anybody going to church. I have people in my family who are ministers, who are devoutly Christian, Muslim, etc. That's fine. But I got to call it the way it is. When you go into the church, what you are being taught by definition is that your life is determined by something outside of yourself, right? By God. I hear people always, God willing, and everything that happens great to them is attributed to God. God did this for me. God gave that to me. Everything bad is either attributed to the devil, right? Or, well, God did this too because I, didn't obey, or da-da-da-da. Now listen, because believe you me, when you start saying anything about God that, people are like, hey, what the fuck? You can stay a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, okay? What I'm telling you is, if you believe that everything that happens to you happens because of something external to yourself. Whether it's God or the white man or white supremacy or the government, all right, the Illuminati, etc., etc. I'm telling you, you are dooming yourself to a life of bondage. And a life of bondage is never fun, even if you're rich, even if you're wealthy, even if you're healthy. A life of bondage is never fun. Bondage is never a good thing. So, like I said, remember I told you at the very beginning, you're going to know very quickly whether or not the Smart Black People podcast is for you or not. In order for this to be for you, you're going to have to be open-minded. You're going to have to be a logical person. You're going to have to be a rational thinker. You're going to have to be a person who aspires to grow spiritually, to grow intellectually, to grow financially, to grow in terms of your relationships, to grow in the ability to love and care for others. You're going to have to be a person who truly wishes to see Black people rise and prosper. And you're also going to have to be a person who, quite honestly, seeks to and aspires to be an enlightened, caring, productive human being. Meaning, if you're one of those people that wants to hear me say, I don't give a fuck about anybody else but Black people, I don't care if Mexicans or Indians or Native Americans or Asians or white people, I don't give a fuck about any of them. They can all go to hell. I don't care about the LGBTQ community I don't care about anybody in that community if their rights are being violated. Who gives a fuck? It has nothing to do with Black people. If you think I'm going to be on here bashing Black women, I'm going to be on here facilitating this stupid ass, counterproductive, deadly battle between the sexes that I see online all the time. If you think I'm going to say I don't care about anybody except Black people, you may as well leave right now. My focus, and the focus of anybody who's a truly smart Black person and a good human being, is to help Black people empower themselves and live happy, productive, fulfilling lives, because that is our group, that's our community, and nobody else is doing it. Okay, we have a duty to do so. It doesn't mean that we do it to the exclusion or to the detriment of somebody else, some other community. That's just me personally. That's my enlightened viewpoint. Now, that being said, you're never going to see me hugging and kissing white supremacists who want my people wiped off of the face of the earth. That's a whole different deal, and we'll get into that. But the point is, this is for enlightened, intelligent Black people who aspire to the best of us, not to the least of us. And when I say that, I mean Black people who aspire to help our race, our community, our people self-actualize to the best human beings we can be, not pander and rationalize and justify our worst instincts or our worst actions and say it's okay because of racism. That ain't what it's about. It's never what it's going to be about. Now, today, it's really just been me talking. I've been laying out what this shit is all going to be about. The next podcast episode will actually come in a day or two. I'm going to usually post these once a week. Eventually, I'll move up to every few days, and eventually it'll be every day. But right now, we're going to start with once a week. But now the next one is going to come very soon after this initial episode, because I want to get into some of the very interesting shit that has happened in the last week and what it means for smart Black people and how we need to take the lessons from it and use it to empower our people. As always, I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast right now. Also, go over to YouTube, put in Smart Black People TV, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. In both places, you're going to get information that is not available anywhere else. This is going to be not only a sanctuary and a haven for people who cannot stand the dumbass coonery and buffoonery that we're bombarded with every day in American media and media across the world, but it's also going to be where we're going to get information that will be about one thing and one thing only: proactive solutions to the problems that plague our community, so that we can rise up, come up, and live the fucking Lux life. You feel me? So again, make sure you subscribe now. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to Smart Black People TV. Make sure you find us and follow us on Instagram at Smart Black People, and also Twitter. You'll just type it in, you'll find us. And I appreciate you being here. Remember, as always, the Smart Black People credo: ain't nobody gonna save us but us. We got to be enlightened to empower ourselves. And to be enlightened means to be awake. Because if you're not awake, you're asleep. And as the great Nas once said, sleep is the cousin of death. I will see you in the next one. Stay rich, stay black, stay sexy, stay enlightened, stay happy, stay smart. Live Lux or die, baby. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Black People podcast with your untamed host, Harkon Ajala. Please get exclusive VIP content, secret high-end wealth-building videos, bonus Q&As and how-to videos, and support our mission to provide empowering, intelligent, anti-coon media content for Black people on the rise by going now to www.smartblackpeople.com/rise up. Thank you again, and remember, nobody's gonna save us but us.